And joining us now, MSNBC health contributor Dr. Vin Gupta, a pulmonologist and global health expert. Dr. Gupta, thanks so much for being here. So these cuts are on hold right now, at least for now, but if allowed to proceed, what do doctors, what potential patients, what do we stand to lose?
Well, Anna, good morning. This is really important for everybody to understand the impact here. A few studies have shown, for example, between 2010 and 2016, Anna, that of the 210 FDA-approved drugs that were ultimately brought to market, all of them, directly or indirectly, were funded by NIH funds. Quite literally every new medical innovation that went to a human body here in the United States had some form of NIH funding, university-led or otherwise. So this has a real impact, whether it's on the weight loss drugs. By the way, the new weight loss drugs we always talk about, those were the initial discoveries on those targets in the human body to develop those drugs were NIH funded. Cancer chemotherapy, the latest innovations for breast cancer, Alzheimer's, other disease categories, all NIH funded. So this directly impacts bedside care, number one. Number two, I've heard from colleagues across the country, those that have worked very hard to be physicians and scientists, researchers that are leading the cutting edge. This is going to impact our workforce, people that decide to pursue these careers in the first place and who decide to retain those careers and stay in them despite an already difficult funding environment. So make no mistake, this impacts patients around the country.
And as we know, medical breakthroughs, they don't happen overnight. Can you speak to the time it takes for some of this research to, come to a conclusion where we do have a cure or a new treatment, or all of the testing that needs to happen has been completed?
Yeah, on a soup to nuts, from just initial ideation to getting a grant to seeing something through an FDA approval, that can take 10 to 15, much longer, even 20 years. And that's important because some of these innovations we just mentioned for high cholesterol, for weight loss, for chemotherapy, those are the things that are going into people's bodies as we speak. And those took that 15 to 20 year lead time. And so that let's emphasize that. Number two, let's also emphasize that there's tens of thousands of clinical trials happening as we speak, that if these indirect costs, which, by the way, fund the very infrastructure of these labs across the country, these are not just going in to some sort of random fund here. These fund the actual equipment and infrastructure to run these labs. Suddenly these labs go dark. And I'll just say, when we talk about economic return, many studies have shown that NIH funding actually produces an economic return on about 25 to 40% year over year because of reducing the economic cost of illness, getting people healthy back into the workforce. So it's very narrow-minded to think that these indirect costs here are somehow a harm to society. Actually, they produce a much more productive, healthier society.
I mean, we all have been touched by cancer or diabetes or heart disease in some way. There's dementia research. I mean, it really is across the board that these impacts could be felt. And we all have optimism right now about the future breakthroughs, the cures that could come down the pipe. And I want to just end with what you kind of started with, that weight loss drug breakthrough. And entrepreneur Mark Cuban had pointed to an article this week that really struck me, just one advancement that we might not have if not for biomedical research funds. This was 20 years ago. A scientist's curiosity about a venomous lizard called the Gila monster paved the way for Ozempic. Quote, despite all the pharma in the world trying to develop a GLP-1-like drug, this lizard venom peptide became the first approved treatment of type 2 diabetes in the world. So I'm just going to leave it there. Dr. Vin Gupta, thank you so much for joining us and helping us really see the forest through the trees. Appreciate it. Up next, here on Ana Cabrera Reports, the deadly moment